Be sure to hop on over to my official website at victoriareynolds.com and pick up your free gift and check out all the other goodies that I have there for you.
Hello, everybody. On today's Messages from the Masters, I want to share a message that came through to me yesterday on November 8th, 2021. And it's about a message that came to me very briefly on Sunday. Now, before I get into this message, for those of you that don't know who the Masters are, I work with a team I call the Guardians of Light. The team that I work with are a group of ascended masters and angels that work together on behalf of all of humanity and all life on earth. And these are individuals, energies, if you will, who have sworn to protect Earth and all of her beings and the ascension process. So I do tune in every once in a while. I get a message from the masters. In this particular case, it's a couple of guardians I'm working with through the rest of this year, and the message that they brought in for me yesterday. And that these beings are pure love, they are pure light, and they are, as I said, sworn to uphold and protect Earth and the ascension process. So this message that I'm bringing to you came in yesterday as a response to this question that I had on Sunday. So on Sunday, I was talking to a friend of mine. We're doing an event on 11/11, planning to do an event on 11/11. Tons and tons of people are doing events on 11/11. This is one of the most powerful days, gateways in our Earth experience. And so every year on 11/11, tons of people all over the planet are doing spiritual events. And what this does is it literally busts open the gateways to the universe for a shift in our individual and collective reality. So it's a really, really important day. I suggest, if you don't have anything planned, that you soak up this 11/11 energy and find events that you align with. So there is one event that I'm working on. We were calling it a spiritual roundtable and had planning to do this event on the morning of 11/11 and then also do an activation on the evening of 11/11. So we've decided to change the date of the spiritual roundtable because so many other people are doing 11/11 events. So stay tuned for when we're actually doing this prosperity roundtable. It's with myself and Deborah Ariel Peach and her husband Scott Bartle and another woman that's part of our prosperity team. So there actually is a prosperity team that I'm working with. That event is coming up. I believe we're doing it next week rather than 11/11. However, there is an event at 4 o'clock Pacific time on 11/11 that you do not want to miss. This is actually an activation that's being presented by Deborah Ariel Peach, and Deborah's activations are extremely powerful. The first activation she did with me, I was actually her first activation she did with me, completely and radically shifted everything in my entire life. And when I need a breakthrough, I call her because I know that her activations can speed the process. So what she's doing on 11/11 at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and I will leave the link in the comments below, is activating this Betterment of Humanity timeline and also activating this new prosperity that is going to be flooding the Earth platform. Interesting, I've never used the platform before, but that's what I'm hearing is that there's going to be a deluge of wealth to the light workers. So I'm going to talk about that in this message that came through because the word deluge was used quite a bit. The reason I tuned in and asked about this is that I was seeing when I was in this conversation with Deborah Peach on Sunday that there's 40 days and 40 nights between 11/11 and 12/21. And December 21st is a date that's been celebrated since, for thousands of years as the return of light. That's the winter solstice, and that's when light starts coming back to the planet. So the winter solstice celebrations are actually very important as well because of the recognition of light. And what a lot of people don't understand is that the holiday season built around, Christians use December 25th. The real date of return of light is December 21st. So that's one of the reasons it's such an important date on our present calendar. And one thing that I really keep in mind when I do tune in and I get messages from my spirit guides is to understand that there is an extensive process I go through of clearing and protecting my field and commanding and demanding that only the highest divine truth is what enters into my field, and asking my ego to set aside any expectations. I do a very intense personal process of making sure that the information that comes in is the whole truth and only but the truth and the highest divine truth. Because there are a lot of people out there who are conscious channels and who have access to a stream of consciousness, as I call it. I call it love streaming personally, because that's what it is. But they're not getting the highest message because they aren't protecting their field, and they're unknowingly allowing infiltration to get into the communication. So I set very, very specific parameters that no one can infiltrate this message, that it's made invisible to anyone or anything that is not of the light, and that only the highest loving divine truth come forward. And as I said, also even asking my ego to step aside so that pure inspiration takes the lead. And then I write it on a notebook. It's pure channeling. I write in the message that comes in, and then later I put it on my computer and then I read it to you, because quite frankly, I can't read my own handwriting, so I'm reading it to you. So I have to do this extra step of putting it on my computer. I had hoped to have this live at 11 o'clock this morning, but it took longer for me to get it all written up than I had planned on. So I'm going to go ahead and read this message to you, and I probably will have some comments on the backside, just depending on what comes through as I'm reading this. So here goes. Good morning, dear one. We are Metatron, Saint Germain, and Yeshua at your service, your Trinity through this time of change into the new year. You ask about what is currently occurring on the earth realm and what it has to do with the next 50 days or so until the beginning of the new year. More specifically, why we showed you the 40 days and 40 nights between 11/11 and 12/21. As you saw just now in writing out, 4 plus 4 equals 8. That is, 40 plus 40 equals 80. And then in numerology, you take the 0 off, so it's 4 plus 4 equals 8. The number for prosperity and infinity. Yes, during this time, much will change on the financial front. For those working in the dark, it will be very dark, the darkest time they have ever known. They are accustomed to standing in their own light, the false light of fame and fortune. That time is coming to an end as they are stripped of notoriety and their kingdoms begin to crumble. For those working in the dark, it will rain hellfire upon them. For those working in the light, it will rain golden light of prosperity as the tables are now flipped in the physical realm. Many who sit on the fence, in the gray zone between dark and light, will be shaken and confused. This is where the light workers will shine. They will help those on the fence, in the gray zone, off the fence and into the light of freedom. It is vital the freedom projects are funded while the enslavement systems crumble. These will happen side by side and will look different depending on which side you are facing. Yes, it will rain for 40 days and 40 nights. For some it will be a rain shower of light, and for others it will be a rain of terror. This is the final battle, the final harvest, the final separation. Yes, the media will begin to tell the truth, not of their own volition, but because they must. Even then, even when the truth begins to reign supreme and people are showered with a deluge of truth, some will still not believe it because their minds have been so conditioned to believe otherwise. We are and will continue to assist humanity in waking up and seeing all they could not see before, beginning with the immediate subjects at hand and working backwards through the human story. Right now, Save the Children will become the utmost importance and will crack the hearts of humanity open and bring the remainder to their knees. It had to be this way. It had to come to this point before people were willing to see. The deluge of information, the 40 days and 40 nights flood, will forever change the landscape of Earth and all her beings. This, however, is not to be your focus. Your focus, and all those participating in the light, is to create reprieve from the suffering, with and through the deluge of wealth coming your way. The old systems will begin crumbling fast now and requires those working in the light to begin construction of new ways of being and moving through life. As systems fail and are flatlined, have the solutions in place to replace them. The dark night of the collective soul is not complete yet. Humanity is still in the chrysalis phase, the breakdown, the final breaking down. You are among the imaginal cells now being given the resources and tools to recreate humanity into its most magnificent form. You, all of you who work in the light, must now light the way in the darkness of the final exposure and disclosure of corruption and fear. Those who see themselves in control will lose control. There will be chaos, yet we, with the help of those working on behalf of the light, will do all we can to help mitigate the chaos. Yes, create your PMAs, that's your private membership associations, and out-of-the-box structures. This will protect them until protection is no longer necessary. It may take several years until all control ceases to exist, as the systems are far, wide, and deep. The recreation will begin with those at the top being toppled until the controlled demolition ends with the systems at the very bottom. Yes, companies, institutions, real estate, and structures will be available for picking up at a song, as the strongholds and structures of greed are dismantled and left in shambles. They, the powers that be, as they think themselves to be, want to be the rescuers. But they too will be left naked, like emperors with no clothes. Their assets will go to auction, and only those working in the light, the new 1%, will have the resources to rescue those concepts and put them to work on behalf of humanity and all life on earth. All their concepts are being brought down, dismantled, and much of it destroyed. Those concepts worth saving will be picked up by the light leaders and reframed for the greatest good. For example, Gaia buying the Discovery Channel is one possibility. The concept of the channel is good, while the current owners are blinded by greed. The script is being flipped for all life on earth, and nothing will ever be the same. For many it will seem as business as usual, but there will be nothing usual about it. Everything is changing. The nouveau riche, the new 1%, are ensuring nothing remains the same, as they are the new names and faces behind the corporations and brands, all working together in unity and cohesiveness for the greatest benefit of all life on earth. No more talk and mindless chatter. Now the real work begins. You, dear one, and all dear ones working in the light, are being called into action. All those in your sphere of influence are on board. By the end of this year, the new earth construction will have begun, and the old world implosion underway. The time has come for the light to shine to its fullest potential, and the darkness to be undone. So be it, dear one, and so it shall be, and it is so. So that's the message that came in yesterday morning from my guardians that I'm working with. And the impression that I got from all that is it is going to be very interesting for the remainder of this year, beginning with 11/11. That might also be part of the 10 days of darkness that some people have been talking about. I don't know. I don't get the impression that it's 10 days without power. It's more of, 10 days of dark reports. So, or maybe it's even 10 days of the darkness being exposed. That might actually be more of it, because the sense I'm getting from this message is that the rest of this year is going to be all about exposure and disclosure. And that one of the reasons it hasn't happened yet, because everybody's asking, why hasn't it happened yet? Why hasn't it happened yet? Well, one of the reasons it hasn't happened yet is because the prosperity has to be put into place for those of us working in the light to be able to build the new structures and support systems as the old systems fail. So they have to happen cohesively and side by side. If all of the structures begin collapsing and there's no place for people to rest their weary souls, then humanity collapses. and all of the efforts will have been lost. They have to happen at the same time. So as the old systems are collapsing, the new systems are being structured. As old businesses are going out of business, new businesses are being created. And that as the fear-based constructs are deconstructed, they're actually being imploded, that the love-based constructs are being created. They have to happen side by side. So it really depends on which side of the story you're looking at. So if you're only focusing on all the stuff coming to the surface that is going to be brought to the surface and exposed, then all you're going to see is the shower, the rain shower of terror, and be terrorized by it. Or you're looking at what's happening on the side of light and being a part of the change that we're all here to be in the world. It's time to stop talking about being the change and actually time to actively be the change. That's what the message has been more than anything in the last couple of weeks. Is it's time to stop talking about it and time to start putting our words into action. And so the prosperity that's intended to make that action happen is also going to be flooding the earth field at the same time. It's going to be flooding the earth field at the same time the corruption is going to be flooding the earth field. So it's really important to know, yes, be able to recognize what's going on, and also to put all of your focus into being part of the change, into being part of the change maker, to be part of the reconstruction, and start to team up with other people that are part of the reconstruction. And so there are some of us who are actually creating these teams so that no one is alone in any of this. This is going to require global teamwork, like the light shining in a way it has never shined before, and creating entirely new models, business concepts, schools, education centers, all of it, and spiritual centers. All of that is changing. All of the old structures are going to be brought down and new structures being created. So every person has a choice whether they're going to be part of creating the new earth or whether they're going to be part of the old world that's imploding. And that's really what the separation is about. And being reminded what the term, separating wheat from chaff, it's that, I'm not a Bible person, but because I was raised with the Bible, I tend to fall back on a lot of the little quotes that I picked up throughout my childhood, and seeing how they can apply to what's happening in the world right now. So that's what the separation is. Some people will actively choose to go with the collapsing systems because that is their comfort zone, and that's where they've always been comfortable, and that's where they continue to be comfortable. So it's kind of that saying of being comfortable in your discomfort. It's like the people who choose to stay in an abusive relationship because that's where they're comfortable. So there are people who are going to choose to stay in the enslavement matrix because that is where they're comfortable, because that's all they've ever known. It's a codependent relationship that a lot of people have with their slave masters, for lack of a better term. That's really what our old systems have been, based in fear and control and enslavement. And humanity, most human beings, I don't even think are aware of how much our systems actually enslave us to the systems themselves. So there are enough of us that recognize what's really going on and are actively creating new systems that are based in freedom rather than enslavement. And that includes the right and ability to use our prosperity for the greatest good of humanity rather than feeding the people who are presently in control of it. So that's one thing to consider. All of this is to say that the rest of this year is going to be very interesting, and that if you see yourself as one of the light workers, it's time to get to work. There are some people who are intended to just sit and be the light and spread that light forward, and this isn't to discount their work, because that is what they're here to do and be. We need people who can hold space for the deconstruction of the old world and the construction of the new worlds. And there are a lot of us who are here to actively be the change we're here to see in the world, and to actively be a part of creating the new reality. We are here to be light workers and light leaders and way showers and creators. And this is a call to the creators to step up, to gather up your resources and gather up others who are like-minded, and let's start creating teams and creating solutions as the old world starts falling apart. So that is my message for today. As always, remember to hold your light so high others can't help but see their own light. Together we will create a world of peace, harmony, and prosperity for all, and freedom, of course. And as always, get bold, be fearless, and live free.